The rise of professional rugby in the nation's capital is here, but the road to glory has only just begun. This is the Road to Glory podcast, home for all Old Glory DC faithful, talking all things rugby in the DC region and beyond. Now your host, Ryan Yee, Gavin Hickey, Trinidad Bavio, Roland Pratt, and Farrah Douglas.
Welcome into the Road to Glory podcast, the official podcast of your Old Glory DC, talking all things rugby in the capital region and beyond. And the good times keep on rolling here for Old Glory. Back-to-back wins, beating Utah in round 10. What an exciting week it was. Of course, we're going to break that all down in this jam-packed episode. Got some interesting news to break down as well. We got an interview with assistant coach Ben Cima, where we'll get a little bit of insight about their mindset heading into a bye week. And then we'll have a little bit of an assessment of how we feel as fans here about Old Glory and where they stand as we approach round 11. But guys, like I said, exciting round 10. How are you guys doing?
Very well. It wasn't a very exciting, very high-scoring weekend. Gonna put the boxing gloves on here again, Gavin. I think get some views.
Yeah, I think so.
What say you, Ryan?
Yeah, no, it's a little bit of a allusion there to some of the stuff that we're seeing some other matches here in this weekend. So let's get right to it. But before we do, if you aren't already, make sure you're following us at Old Glory DC. Give us a like, give us a follow down below on the YouTube channel. I've been having an absolute blast here on the Road to Glory podcast. 11 episodes in now, which is crazy to think about. This season is absolutely flying. And we do appreciate the support, and we hope all of our fans, listeners, and viewers have been enjoying as well. But yeah, let's talk about this news. Crazy. Isn't in the Old Glory DC match, but Houston taking on New York. And it seems like there was a little bit of fisticuffs happening, not between players who you do occasionally see once in a while, but the coaches. And not to mention, not just the head coach of one team, but the strength and conditioning coach of another. If you guys didn't see, it's all over social media right now. But in the matchup between Houston and the New York Ironworkers over the weekend, yeah, interesting stuff during a water break where it was happening. The head coach, Pote Human, getting into a verbal altercation with the New York Ironworkers performance coach, Ollie Richardson. Some things were exchanged, a little bit of a hand slap by Human, leading to a punch by Ollie Richardson there. Players storming the field. I don't even know where to begin with this. I'll just get your guys' initial reaction on what you saw after all this thing, your initial reaction to it.
It was silly. It was silly. It's been blown up massively. In fairness, it's probably one of the most watched moments of Major League Rugby around the world, with all sorts of comments in every corner of the world. But just a little bit of insight from my perspective is Ollie Richardson was my strength and conditioning coach in Leicester Tigers a long time ago, and he's obviously director of performance in New York. And Ollie's the wrong man to mess with. Ollie's coached a lot of MMA fighters, including Dan Hardy and a few others. So when you saw that right punch coming there from Ollie towards the end, I'm pretty sure that connected pretty well.
Yeah, you said it's everywhere, but it's maybe not the thing that you want to make it popular, but I was shocked. And it's something that you don't regularly see in a rugby field, of course, and gladly it's like that. But Pote was ready to go hard, and yeah, I saw it. Argentina, in South America, everywhere, but it's not the kind of thing that you want to see, of course, in a rugby field.
Yeah, went viral on Twitter almost immediately,
Yeah.
and
Totally.
and while it is, it's not a great look for the league. It's brilliant advertising, So
It's true.
I
No such
have
thing
to
as
say
bad
it's
publicity.
No such thing. Absolutely. So you're going to get more eyeballs on the league now, and hopefully people are going to say, "Oh, okay, that was a bit crazy, but this sport's actually really fun." So we'll see.
Yeah, I really hope there's not a big suspension for both guys, both passionate men who were doing what they believe at the time is the right thing for their teams. I think Trini's dead right. It's not a good look. It's not something we want to see. Having said that, every journalist in Ireland's talking about it. Every journalist in the UK is talking about it. It's in New Zealand. It's in Argentina. It's in South America. It's everywhere. So as you say, there's going to be more eyes on Major League Rugby now than ever before. And that's not a bad thing at all. That's a great thing. So not what we want to see at all. Hopefully it won't happen again. But let's get on with it.
Yeah. And Farrah, I think you're muted there.
Oh, yeah. I just said whatever the decision is, it needs to be consistent in how they would handle it, regardless of who decided to go fisticuffs. But I was somewhere between, oh, why? And wow, this is so American.
Yeah.
That happens in American sports all the time. There's always someone mad. There's a player or coach, and someone drops one, and it's like,
American sport, but it's a South African and an Englishman going at it toe to toe.
I know. I was
They're
like,
really embracing it.
right? But I mean, that's like when I think about it, like that moment, I was just like, ooh, that's kind of like very US, but also so not good. But it's like the accident happens on the highway, like everybody stops to watch it, and now everyone's really curious. So it's like not a great look, but it is going to generate eyes.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of be what gets made out of that.
No kidding. And I will say, at the time of the recording of this podcast, Major League Rugby has released a statement saying that they are investigating the incident that took place between New York and Houston. They're going to complete an investigation and they'll take any necessary action in terms of what they see deems fit with the incident that did happen. So we'll, I guess, wait and see to hear and figure out what the league thinks about this situation, and I guess we'll find out soon.
Just on that, it is. I want to stress it's not a good look. Having said that, let's not knee-jerk reaction here. There's two guys, professional jobs. This is their careers. It was a mistake. If a player does that, he's not going to be banned forever or kicked out of the league or anything like that, right? So both men know it was a wrong thing to do. So yes, there needs to be some kind of punishment, but not career ending, not Major League Rugby ending.
No.
Let's deal with it and move on.
No, well said. Well said. All right. Well, let's shift on over to this Old Glory DC matchup with Utah. Just quickly, though, before we get to it, I do got to give a shout out to Navy head coach here, Gavin Hickey, coming away with a big time semifinal win against Lindenwood at home over the weekend, a 12-10 victory. A little bit closer than you probably would have liked there, Gavin. Some moments that probably had your heart going a little bit. But yeah, big time win there in the semifinal, booking your ticket for that May 6th final with a rematch against Cal at Aviva Stadium in Houston.
Yeah. Obviously, knockout rugby, you take a 3-0 win if you could. Obviously, we left it a little bit closer than that with a 2-point win, but strange game with all the points being scored into the wind, and it was fairly windy. But we had our hearts in our mouths a few times, but we're delighted to get through. We're 17-0, and we're going to face Cal again, and that's going to be an epic test for us. But we're over the moon. And also, I just want a big shout out as well. Something that we need to acknowledge is Gonzaga's season and the season they're having, a local high school team. So in terms of DC, DMV rugby, we've got the number one high school in the country, we've got the number one college in the country, and now we've got Old Glory firing. So things are looking pretty good in this region. So it's very exciting. So thanks for the shout out for Navy Rugby.
Of course, all the time. And let's talk about other exciting results, because we got to get to this Old Glory DC Utah matchup over the weekend at Segra Field. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, a big time win here for the Utah Warriors, for the Old Glory DC, especially when you talk about kind of the other results that happened across the league, pushing Old Glory DC into that second spot into the Eastern Conference, coming off this 36-22 victory at home against Utah. Before we kind of dive into the nitty gritty of this match, just overall thoughts about Old Glory DC here after this win, now racking up 2 wins in a row heading into the bye.
I think that they just played so well in the last couple of weeks, and it's just amazing what a little bit of confidence can do for you. We've been talking about to the different coaches and the ownership and all the things that they've been doing this season in order to get on the right track. Well, it feels like as of right now, they've found the track. Right, they've put in a lot of effort, and we're starting to see some dividends. That confidence from that New York win cannot be understated, and just that ounce of confidence gave them enough belief to go and beat a really good Utah team who had basically all of their studs available. There was the weather issue, there was the delay, but that was the same for everybody. And Old Glory were able to overcome that delay better, came out, which is amazing, we actually came out of the blocks firing, went up 14-0, and we're absolutely on fire, and we're value for it as well. Left Utah a little bit shell-shocked. Fair play to Utah. They got back into it. There was some heavy hitting going on, like no quarter asked or given. And I mean, the perfect example was Kyle Bailey laying out Ollie Khalifi. Now, he did get the yellow card for that, but it set such a tone for the rest of the game. I didn't actually think it was terribly illegal, just but so bang bang. So the yellow card, fair enough. That's all. Play on. And but other than that, it was just first class performance from the boys. Great and bold, playing just really expansive rugby. It got the backline firing. And, I just can't say enough about the team. They've had a few weeks there where it's been miserable for them. And, they've worked hard, they've dug deep, and they're in second place in the East, folks, a halfway mark. It's brilliant. Well played.
Tito's obviously a fantastic player, and he's a great signing for the team. And he has a very important role to play for Old Glory. But I don't think it's a coincidence that Old Glory's won the last 2 games of Graydon Boyd starting at 10. And, fair play to him. I think he's had to wait his time for the opening season. He had a great preseason. He's had to wait his time. And then he's got his opportunity a couple of weeks ago, and he's taken it. And that's 2 wins out of 2 with him starting at 10. I think that's pretty it's pretty key to their success.
I agree, Gavin. I think he's playing very, very good. But I remember when we spoke to Tito a couple of weeks ago that he told us, we are working so hard. You really need to give us some time because we are going to show on the field that we are really a good team. And I just can't believe that Rugby ATL was a month ago. And now you have these 2 matches that are absolutely fabulous. This game was amazing. I remember when Utah was going off of the field, is the size of these players. They are so heavy, and we played good. I think that Graydon had a great game, and you said it, Gavin. When you have the opportunity, it's not easy to take it and do it okay. And now you have these 2 wins that you've been number 10 of the team, so that is something that it's really good to appreciate it. And also the mentality to go out and play after an hour of delay, because you say, okay, maybe it's easy, both teams are in the same situation, but no, you're standing in just waiting to get out, and you are anxious, and I think the team did great. And I am literally so sorry that I picked Utah, but I'm happy for these results.
Yeah, it's the one pick where I'm happy that I screwed my choice up. It was an exciting match to watch. I think a lot of the stuff that we've talked about, we've been concerned with, that we've highlighted, I saw strong changes, like stronger lower in contact, more like I'm trying to think of the word, but like more work rate to get to support the ball carrier. We were smarter in how we defended those offloads. Like we knew how Utah was going to play. We didn't change what we did. We just were way more efficient at how we defended those things. Like the double tackles, people went to ground. The work rate was there, and we played fast. We defended smart. It was just it was nice to finally see that team that we've been looking for.
And I'll say the things that really stood out to me. Roly, you mentioned it, how we came out to a hot start. They're up 14-0. That's something that we really haven't seen from this Old Glory DC side as of yet this season. To be able to have that cushion and that stability as the game going, especially at those moments when you felt Utah may have been slowly inching their way back into that 14-point cushion really gave us a strong framework to work off of. Also, their response after Utah scoring there when they were slowly clawing into that was something that we hadn't really seen before. And I want to say also, I mean, I believe from the stats perspective, over 90% success rate from the lineouts. And Gav, I'll ask you quickly how important that is in terms of them getting that done in their victory here.
Absolutely critical. I think we scored a couple of tries from line-out mauls. So absolutely critical to get your set piece right. You got nothing if you don't have a set piece, and that goes for any level. On that though, I think there was 8 scrums for Old Glory, and in fairness, they won 8 scrums, but scrum was creaking, and that does need some work. I thought Utah did a really good job in that area. But I also just want to highlight Willie T at 13 or in center. I mean, he's been going fantastically well. He's been pretty consistent, and he was really important this past weekend. So we're starting to see a more settled team. I think we're starting to see very strong set piece performances. As Farrah said, defense is showing really well. So we're starting finally, as Trini said about Tito, you know, just hold on, wait till you see. Gives a little more time. We're starting to see that, and there's not one person in the world who's not happy to see this. This is great for Old Glory, and it's exactly what the franchise needs, and we're over the moon.
Yeah, three straight weeks now that Willie T has scored a try here. So that's some impressive stuff there. Yeah, Roly.
One last thing, guys. So with the line out there, Gavin, so Utah had 6 misses in the lineouts as well. So their hooker wasn't having a good day, but I feel like Kyle Bailey was causing all sorts of trouble there, just getting him up early and just made a mess of things for them generally. It wasn't even the 6 that they lost, though some of the ones that they did get were really kind of sloppy ball, slow ball, messed up. So, and the last thing is, when 29 tackles missed. 29 tackles. That's a lot. And Utah didn't make a proper line break all day. So they didn't get clean through. When you consider backline that they have of Kruse and Mano and Hodgkins, and they didn't make a line break, fair play to them. That's an amazing defensive performance.
Just on set piece there, you know, the highlight reels will always show great turnovers or intercepts or you know, open play turnovers, you know, a kick and then a run. The best place, as we all know, to stop opposition attack is at source, and that's at set piece. And if you can disrupt a line out and turn over 6 of them or put massive pressure on 6 of them, you're going to have a good day at the office. So stopping the ball at source in set piece from a defensive perspective played a pretty significant role in Old Glory's victory the weekend.
Yeah, and 2 of those big players, and you mentioned one of them, Roly, Kyle Bailey, obviously having that impact in that set piece, but also Langy coming in his second start in a row here in that back row. I don't think it's a coincidence that these 2 guys get interjected into the starting lineup here, and we've seen some success here. Obviously this week with Kyle Bailey and last week's edition with Langy. Just quickly here before we move on to this next segment, just the impact that these new faces have had on this team here during this little successful run.
Kyle Bailey is like an old, hard Canadian hockey player. And that's exactly what Old Glory needs. Yes. So that's a great signing.
The Canadian Etzebeth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not flash, just hard.
Just physical. An animal. Like, yeah, I said last week about rugby IQ, but you know what? Everybody needs rugby IQ in their team, but everybody needs a dog as well. And that's my guy right there.
And Langy also had such a great game last week, and that's the kind of player that we thought Old Glory needed to be more powerful, and he didn't need more than 20 minutes to show that he was the player that this team needed. So pretty exciting.
Yeah, and there is some help on the way as well. Nico Jones joining the squad ahead of last week's matchup, and it'll only be time will tell when he kind of interjects himself into the lineup. But it sounds like this depth that this team was needing. You know, a few weeks ago when we were talking about that, maybe some size entering this lineup, maybe on the way here, and it seems to be really performing well.
Just on Nico Jones,
he has a passport as well, so he'll be in quickly.
And let's not forget who his dad is. His dad is one of the greatest flankers that ever played the game.
That man is massive.
He is a monster. He was the first rugby player in the world to not play on a Sunday, and he missed a very important World Cup game back in '91, I think, against Australia because he wouldn't play on a Sunday. But he is a legend, Michael Jones.
His stash was in front of Eden Park.
That's right.
So it'll be nice to get some of that pedigree here into the Old Glory DC locker room and lineup and see the impact that he has. So again, some of these new faces having big time impact here. And again, not a coincidence that Old Glory is starting to see some success here with the addition of some of these new faces, and of course everything else that is kind of working for this team. As like you mentioned, Trini, this team has said that it's only a matter of time before something's going to show out here in the work that they're putting in. It seems like over the past 2 weeks, that's something that definitely has been starting to show for sure. So coming up after a short break here, we bring on assistant coach of Old Glory DC, Ben Cima, to get a little bit insight on this run, talk about how he feels heading into the bye week, and should have a very interesting conversation with him about some of his team thoughts and also some of his personal thoughts too, which was very insightful. So we'll be doing that right after a short break. But first, Old Glory DC is excited to welcome back our friends at the Supply Room, your business-to-business office supply vendor located in the Mid-Atlantic. Visit thesupplyroom.com to learn how to create a smarter office. The Road to Glory podcast will be right back.
Experience how sous vide is reimagined the way we eat from the company trusted by the most renowned chefs in the world. Visit cuisinesolutions.com or your local retailer to get a taste.
It takes leadership. It takes determination. It takes grit. On the pitch and off. At ECS, we're tackling our nation's biggest challenges. From cybersecurity and artificial intelligence to digital transformation and IT operations, we build powerful solutions for a complex world. Meet the challenge. Make a difference.
Are you looking for an exciting and unforgettable live sporting event? Look no further than Old Glory DC, your hometown Major League Rugby franchise. Don't miss out on this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see professional rugby up close. With a mix of strength, skill, and strategy, rugby is a sport like no other. Whether you're coming alone, with friends, or looking for unique family entertainment, Old Glory DC has something for everyone. Be a part of this unique experience. Get your tickets now at oldglorydc.com. That's oldglorydc.com.
Knowledge. It's where innovation begins. It's what leads us to discovery and motivates us to succeed. It's why we ask the tough questions and what leads us to the answers. At Leidos, we're standing behind those working to improve the world's health, safety, and efficiency. Leidos.
Pro rugby in the nation's capital is here. Are you on board the road to glory? Back to upping the flags with your hosts Ryan Yee, Gavin Hickey, Trinidad Bavio, Roland Pratt, and Farrah Douglas.
Welcome back into the Road to Glory podcast. It's now time for the Rent Ditmar Bring It Home interview, because where you live matters. And this week, we are super excited to bring on our guest this week, assistant coach Ben Cima. Ben, thank you so much for taking the time for joining us here today.
No, my pleasure. I'm excited to be on.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's hop right into it. And I think the most pressing question that a lot of our viewers and listeners have is about that awesome match that we had over this past weekend. Old Glory keeping the momentum going, back-to-back wins now, big win over Utah in round 10. Just let's pick your brain here about the overall thoughts on that match and a big-time victory heading into a bye week.
Yeah, it was a needed win for us. I think we carried over kind of the desperation that we had against New York, where, you know, that was another must-win game for us in the East. But Utah was particularly tough. They were on a bit of a streak. They were playing really well, probably the hottest team in the West. And it was just one of those games. I mean, it was pretty inspiring from a coaching perspective to watch our players play. I mean, they played about, I don't know, guys, like what, 28 minutes of defense straight in the second half. And then it was just like bang, bang, score. And, you know, that was kind of the game. I think, you know, Utah had a tough go at things, given the circumstances before the game, where we're having rain and lightning and all that sort of stuff. I think Josh Sims really had a great message for us before the game that got us kind of locked into the game. I think, you know, he said it come down to being more ready than them in the circumstances. I think everyone's going to come out flat, and the flatter team is going to lose. And we kind of saw that play out in the first 15 minutes. We were up 2 tries. And that was kind of the lead that we carried into the second half. And then some really, really inspiring defense from our guys for a long time to really make it tough for them to score. And eventually they scored, and then it was just kind of, we took our opportunities to play. I think it was our most complete match, which is really encouraging as a coaching staff, and it's coming at the right time for us. So it really is a positive note for us to go into the bye week having beaten one of the better teams in the West, which is not something a lot of East Coast teams have done this year.
And on that point, Ben, you've had back-to-back wins with OG this for the first time this season, which has been fantastic to see. It seems from the outside like there's been a change within the team, or certainly performance-wise. Is there anything that you can pinpoint that has led to the last two excellent performances and great results?
I mean, I think a lot of the hard work that we've been doing is starting to pay off. I think the players have really bought in to the systems that we're running, to the philosophies that we have behind our play. And, I think a lot of the skill development that we've been trying to accomplish is starting to really stick. And it's allowing us to start to play a style of rugby that I think is really unique in the MLR. I think our defense is something that, apart from San Diego and New York, and to be fair, Atlanta, our defense, I think is our big difference from a lot of the teams in the league. Everyone plays a rush style defense, and it doesn't take a large rugby IQ to kind of see that we don't press on defense. We stay connected. And I think that has really been the piece that the players have bought into, and it showed this weekend. From my side, the attacking piece is starting to look better and better. I think we've added a lot of really good pieces. I think Graydon is playing outstanding rugby. I think it's something we were really excited on him even in the preseason, and we gave him an opportunity against New York, and he really took it. And now, having played so well against Utah again, he's really kind of earning that 10 jersey and really doing a good job of leading our guys. And let's not forget that, Kurt played a huge role. He had some shocking plays against New York, but it's really his talk on the field and his experience, and also his kicking game that really has made a huge difference for us as a team, because it's hard with little experience on the field. And Kurt's just one of the guys that brings a very calming energy to our team.
Well, let's expand on that just a little bit, Ben, because you've had some other key additions over the past 2 weeks during this run. The big man comes to mind immediately, Kyle Bailey, and then you have another gigantor in Langi. Both come into the pack, have made immediate impact. You have that change there with Graydon, like you just mentioned. Tell us about what an impact on a team bringing in those guys, especially into the pack, and having a mauler like Bailey in there.
Oh man, I cannot state how needed it was to get Kyle in. He immediately stepped in and was a leader in our team, and that just kind of shows to his experience and his character. I think he was shocked to get 80, but that's kind of the trend with us. We bring guys in and give him 80, but we were joking about it. He got 10 minutes of rest after giving Ollie
obliterating Ollie.
Yeah, giving Ollie a pretty good shot. It was funny. I was talking to Ollie after the game. He's a good friend of mine. He was just like, I don't think I've been hit like that since Pop Warner. I was just like, I was surprised to see you on the ground, to be honest. Like, he's such a dense man. But yeah, Kyle and Langi have been extraordinary for us. Just the edge that they've given us on defense and attack and carrying the ball, and Kyle, being that voice in the line out has just been such a difference. I think we were 91% in our line out this past weekend, and getting that ball and turning over ball from them was just like imperative in the win. In terms of the rest of the team, bringing in those guys has been just such a kind of a refreshing feel for them. I think a lot of them were, knew the shortcomings that we had, and having that immediate impact on a short week that we did after New York has just been awesome. I mean, I can't underestimate, or I can't understate how much of an impact those guys have had. And we have Nico Jones coming in soon that will be another one of those guys that kind of reinforces our strengths. And we'll see. It's very positive at the moment.
Ben, speaking of new players, there are a lot of them, plenty of new foreign players in this 2023. And a lot of them have the ability to not only speak Spanish, but also the regional dialect. What's your role in there? Have you ever helped Josh Sims translate or transfer the information so that you can get all of the players to understand everything?
No, I mean, credit to a lot of our Argentine players. They a good majority of them know pretty good English. It's really Lautaro that doesn't know any, which has been interesting because we could have used him to call our lineouts, but he just doesn't speak English. So he's like a quiet assassin though, that guy. He's like I think to be honest, he's probably our best player of the year so far, just with how consistent he's been and how dominant he's been in the roles that he's done. And even in training, it's just like, you don't even need to, it's almost like you just can kind of look at him and he knows exactly what you need to, what you're trying to tell him. He's just really, really bright on the field. But the only time I've actually helped out any of the players was during the Atlanta game. We had a few HIAs, and it was Lautaro who had an HIA. And so that you can imagine getting asked a bunch of words in a different language and then trying to repeat them back would have been pretty tough. So I had to run in from water boy duties over to the sideline and try to him out with that HIA. But no, it's been easy. Josh does a really good job of incorporating them in and doing all those sorts of things. So it's been good. I think the Argentines have brought a little bit of culture to us. That's nice. They're hosting barbecues for us and doing those kinds of things and getting the guys together in that sense. So they really have been a huge part of our team and our culture.
And it's so good to see your face.
Good to see you, Farrah. Such a long time.
I know. So we go back very far.
Yeah.
You've had a lot of great moments on the rugby pitch as a kid and as an adult, in both your roles as a player and a coach. What for you stands out as something that personally you look back on with a smile and like really cherish?
I mean, I think we shared a lot of memories, Farrah. So at Gonzaga, which I don't have a single bad one when I think back to those times. I think, a lot of the pieces that I think of the most are kind of the big steps that I took in my development. Gonzaga being a huge place where that happened as well. But I think, the drinking out of the fire hose of what was my first under 20 campaign when I was senior in high school was kind of the big stamp on my career that I thought kind of took me to a next step. That week or that month, in Hong Kong was probably some of the most fun rugby I've played. And looking back at that team, it was, we had some outstanding players on it, from Titi Lamosatelli to Ben Pinkelman to I'm trying to think of more names at the moment. We had Hanko Hermesais, we had Seth Halliman, we had a bunch of just outstanding players that kind of have gone on to have really good careers themselves. And that was a great time. And then I would say obviously the first tour I had with the US was really special. Being coached by someone like John Mitchell was something that, was invaluable to me. And as a guy that really grew up in the States and played domestic rugby, it was a huge step in terms of coaching and that kind of stuff. So that was another piece where it was 6 weeks of drinking out of a fire hose where, I was trying to make the most of it and learn as much and grow as much as I could. And we, winning that first ARC down in Argentina was one of the better memories I've had.
Ben, I got to jump in there because something that'll always stick with me for as long as I live is your kick against Canada, which was from 50 meters, easily 60.
Every single time someone brings this up, it's further back, but it,
He was in the
no,
shadow of his own posts.
yeah. So we have to take into account that this was Dell Diamond, so it's a baseball field, so the field's a little bit shorter than it was. It was actually probably on the field. It looked like just over 55 meters, but it was probably around 50. So it wasn't too much, but yeah, that was it's funny, honestly, because when I went to Seattle, I kind of got brought in late. Like I didn't think I was going to get, I actually didn't have a team that year for 2019 until early December. And I graduated college. I got an offer from Seattle. I finished my club season with Rocky Gorge. And then I graduated, and the next day I flew to Seattle. And when I landed in Seattle, I walked into like what was going to be my home for the next 3 years. And two of my roommates were guys that played on that Canadian team. So it was a big full circle where it was like they all were giving me like weird looks, and I knew one of them was on the team. I didn't know the other one was. And after a month, they were just like, I thought I was gonna hate you. I was like, oh, gee, thanks.
That's funny. All right, just a couple more questions for you here, Ben. Just to add to that, now speaking about your development within the rugby space, I guess more so from a coaching perspective, can you just speak on the impact that you now stepping into this assistant coach role with Old Glory DC has had in that, and in terms of your growth as a rugby coach, and also just your understanding of the game and your knowledge around it?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is another one of these instances of drinking out of a fire hose. It was not in my original plans to be coaching here, but when I got offered kind of a role, it was supposed to be part-time, coming in twice a week, but I'm not really one to do things half in, half out. So I just kind of went in all full go, and it's been great. I've just learned so much. Genuinely, like some of the best coaching that I've seen, to be honest, is here. And I've just been learning so much, and really finding my voice more than anything. It started out very, just listening more than anything, and picking my words very carefully when I was allowed to speak, or when I was given the chance to speak. And now I've kind of settled into the ebbs and flows of the week, and learning so much, and looking at the game in a different way than I have before. But it's been awesome. I think a lot of the coaching staff, me and Josh are very similar in terms of like we're ADHD, high energy, all over the place kind of people. So we've meshed well together as a coaching group, and we have a really strong kind of bond in the coaching office. So it's been really good.
Obviously, coaching is very different to playing, and you're a young coach and you're doing extremely well. Are you enjoying the challenge of being a coach?
It's interesting. Yeah, I have enjoyed it a lot. I mean, it really is my passion. I never really thought that it was going to be this way. Mostly because I probably thought that I was going to have a longer career than I did, but it was, I've really, really loved seeing, and it's easy to talk about this like after 2 weeks of winning. And it's interesting because like I was talking to Colin Gross, who's I think one of our more outstanding players, a rookie guy. But this was right after preseason, and he was just like, man, like we're just really happy with, all the things the coaching staff are doing. I was like, yeah, just wait until like the Monday after 2 back-to-back losses, and then let's talk, you know what I mean? And it is hard from the like seeing the other side of it, and then kind of trying to manage both. Because I'm still younger than the majority of the guys that I'm coaching. So it's interesting. It's a unique challenge. But I don't know. I think I'm just kind of embracing it and taking it day by day. And I really have enjoyed it. And seeing results oddly more satisfying almost as a coach than a player. I mean, there's no feeling quite like walking off a field kind of dazed and knowing you won. But you know, it's a different sense of pride when you kind of see the guys that you're working with do the things that you talk about and train and work towards.
And again, we're talking here with Old Glory DC assistant coach Ben Cima on the Rent Ditmar Bring It Home interview. Last question here for you, Ben. Just looking ahead now, obviously you guys step into this bye week, and then you get Dallas in round 12. So pretty big, at least in my opinion, getting to build this confidence heading into a bye week, getting into this break with kind of that positive mindset. But can you just speak on kind of that mindset heading into this bye week and how you guys plan on keeping the momentum going in hopes of keeping these wins flowing here?
Yeah, I think we took the week off, which is good because most teams do that in some capacity. We had a week 2 bye, which was tough because we ended up training for the majority of our bye week because we won one game against a new Chicago team. And, we couldn't really hang our hat on that. And it's just the way the schedule goes. But this week, we're really taking the time to kind of lick our wounds and get ready for what is going to be, a really challenging second half to the season. The mindset really is switch off, go enjoy the time with your partners, go and do things that you aren't able to do during weeks that we have trainings. Spend time with family, do whatever you have to do, be a good dad, be a good partner, and come in on Monday ready to kind of put the axe to the grindstone and get back into it. That's really a test of a good team, being able to flip the switch and switch off. And then when Monday rolls around and, we're doing our installs, it's all systems go and 100% focus. And I'll probably have a bit of a sleepless night going into Monday, just not knowing, kind of what's going to show up and who's going to be sunburned and whatever, they're up to on their bye weeks. It's just, yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some fun stories coming out of it. But nonetheless, awesome speaking with you, Ben. Really appreciate the insight you give us with this team, especially as we try to kind of dissect this win streak that this Old Glory team is going on. But again, appreciate you taking the time, and you're welcome back anytime to hop on here on the Road to Glory podcast.
No, happy to join whenever you guys just want to chat. So thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. And this interview is brought to you by rentditmar.com. Let Rent Ditmar be part of your next home search journey. Visit them at rentditmar.com because where you live matters. Coming up, we're going to talk about some of the expectations we have with this team as they head into a bye week, talk about this 2-week win streak and kind of a little assessment as they get into this bye week right after a short break. The Road to Glory podcast will be right back.
It takes leadership. It takes determination. It takes grit. On the pitch and off. At ECS, we're tackling our nation's biggest challenges. From cybersecurity and artificial intelligence to digital transformation and IT operations, we build powerful solutions for a complex world. Meet the challenge. Make a difference.
At MedStar Health, we're doing everything we can to prepare for what if. Like, what if you need care right now? We have the region's largest network of urgent care centers. Or what if you think you're out of options? Patients continue to turn to us after losing hope elsewhere. Or what if you can't get to care? Our mobile care units bring care to our communities because treating people means being prepared to treat them when what if happens. MedStar Health. It's how we treat people.
Shift into Easy Drive at Sheehy and discover an easier way to find your next vehicle. Sheehy Easy Drive works harder to get you a better value when you sell or trade in, find you more options within your area, and offers you one easy price. Buy in store or online, so you can focus more on where you need to go, not how you'll get there. For an easy answer to your car needs, shift into Easy Drive at Sheehy.
It's easy at Sheehy. Sheehy.com.
Pro rugby in the nation's capital is here. Are you on board the road to glory? Back to upping the flags with your hosts, Ryan Yee, Gavin Hickey, Trinidad Bavio, Roland Pratt, and Farrah Douglas.
Welcome back to the Road to Glory podcast, and it is a bye week here for Old Glory DC heading into round 11, but that does not mean there isn't anything short to talk about this team because, again, back-to-back wins for this club, a little bit of a different feel with this team over the course of the 11 episodes that we've been doing this show. But let me set the tone and let me set the stage here for where Old Glory DC sits right now heading into round 11, okay? Coming off back-to-back wins, like I said, big-time win against New York, and then in round 10, beating the Utah Warriors 36-22. Now, in the standings in the Eastern Conference, we've mentioned all season long about how close and tight-knit this Eastern Conference has been. And now Old Glory DC finds himself behind the New England Free Jacks in that second spot with a little help of some helpful results there in round 10. But nonetheless, 25 points total here heading into their bye week, above the New York Ironworkers in third with 23 points, ahead of NOLA Gold in fourth with 21, Rugby Atlanta with 20 in that fifth spot. Don't need to mention Toronto because they've been struggling. I don't think at this point they are going to be any real big threat. But guys, Old Glory DC in second place. And the question that I have for you all is, what is your feel and how confident are you feeling with this team? What is the vibe of this team that you have now heading into this bye week, as opposed to maybe 3-4 weeks ago when there were a little bit of some struggles there that Old Glory DC was experiencing?
There's no easy games in this league, right? So you take the bye week, you take your rest, you recover, and you go again, because what's coming down the track is pretty intense, as it is every week. So, you know, I said a few weeks ago, I think their backs against the wall and they got to come out fighting. And Trini already said, you know, that Tito asked for more time and it's coming, and we're seeing that, and we're seeing the fruits of their labor, and it's so good to see. But, you know, you take this week and you get some rest, you recharge the batteries, and then you go again. But Dallas Jackals are a dangerous team. And it's down there in Dallas in 2 weeks' time, and that's going to be tricky. And then followed up by New England and then Toronto after a 4-day turnaround. So it doesn't get any easier, but certainly things are on the right track, and it's so good to see.
What about you, Roly? In-house Old Glory DC, big-time fan. What's your feeling here with this team now as opposed to a month ago?
Well, it's a lot better. I think it's more buoyant for sure. I think the fans are clearly, they're liking what they're seeing. I'm definitely liking what I'm seeing. The commitment is there. The work on the training field is there. I can see all the different line-out variations, the attacking systems that are going on, the new defensive structure that is being put into place. I can see so much of it. I think that Josh Sims is really rounding this team out into something that he can be proud of. The players that have been brought in have clearly added to what was already there, but in a really a more emotionally positive way, as well as a physically positive way. All of these things they're just great. They're great things to build off, basically. And if we can just hold this and get on a streak, and like Gavin said, this is going to be a very tricky game, in my opinion. This Dallas game, all those Argentinians together, they're going to be wanting to put one up on them, those are the games that always worry me. So please, the message for Old Glory, do not take this game lightly and get on a 3-game winning streak. If you can streak in this league, get on, win one, a second one, an away one, and another home one, all of a sudden you've put together a heck of a month and you're in contention. We're in second place coming in. Are we going to get a playoff spot? I don't know, but it's there.
Sometimes when you're in a good moment, you know, you say, maybe if they played this weekend and then a bye week, but you know, everything happens for a reason. They need to rest. I imagine that they've been working so hard these past few weeks because, you know, in such a short time, they've changed a lot. And that is not magic, you know. You have to train a lot. You have to be consistent. You have to be mentally strong, and a lot of changes, a lot of new players in these past few weeks. So I think that what Ben said is right, that you sometimes need to rest your body, your head. So I'm thinking that is a good moment. But yes, what Roly said, if you get those 3 wins on a row, it's kind of amazing. Playoff spot. I just don't imagine what you guys think, because you've been following On Glory for a lot of time, and this is kind of okay, it's happening.
Yeah, I think both Roly and Gavin probably articulated best. I think we've just been waiting to see what we know they're capable of. And, you know, as fans and coaches, sometimes we can be a little bit impatient with that process. So I think that we've had that momentum shift where we're seeing a team that's able to come out strong and finish the game strong, which has not been the case early on in the season. And, you know, we talked about before where they've improved in areas with the defense and the set pieces. The lineouts were so spot on, not just attacking lineouts, but we were able to disrupt a lot of lineout ball for Utah. I think the little pieces of the puzzle are starting to fall into place. But I agree with Gavin. Dallas is tricky, and Dallas, again, now even more so than before, every match going forward is a must win. And it's not just like, let's win it. It's where you have to come away with the bonus point. You need your points for winning, and you need that bonus point, because everything is still so close in the Eastern Conference. So I'm excited because I think we have not seen everything this team is going to be capable of. The question now is, can they continue to ride this momentum shift forward and continue to improve and grow match to match?
You know, it's if we rewind 8 weeks, this is a critical week, this bye week, because we rewind 8 weeks and we had a bye week in week 2. And at the time we thought, you know, maybe that's a good thing to get one win under the belt and they refresh themselves. That was a bad thing. Having a bye week in your second week when you're trying to build momentum is not a good thing. So I'm hoping very much so that this bye week, this week after 2 wins, doesn't stall momentum, because momentum is critical when it comes to long seasons like this, as you know. I think it's probably too early to talk about playoff spots quite yet. But one thing that you said there, Roly, intrigues me, because this is a sign of progress. You just mentioned attacking systems, and you're happy with the attacking system and starting to see it. You know, a few weeks ago when things weren't going so well, we were talking about not being able to understand what the attacking system is. And now, 2 wins later, and Old Glory's in a really good place. So are you seeing an attack that you're satisfied with and that can carry this team forward to the end of the season?
Yeah, I think Roly's having a little bit of some audio issues there, but yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see, and we'll see whether we get Roly back here. But no, you got a good point there though, Gav. I think bye week's crucial. It's interesting to see when and how you kind of approach that. I will say though, there is something to be said about a positive mindset heading into this week, and I think having 2 wins and being able to have this break, having that on your belt is crucial. But let me ask you guys this then, as we kind of now look ahead to, you guys mentioned obviously the matchup against the Dallas Jackals. You mentioned the matchup against the Free Jacks and also Toronto. Obviously, the Free Jacks one is going to be the big one there. Eastern Conference rival Toronto, you'd expect the win to be there, but it's going to be tough because there's a quick turnaround there with that Thursday matchup heading to Toronto. But let me just mention to you guys at the same time, it cannot be taken lightly because during that course of that time, you look at some other Eastern Conference matchups and some other matches that may have implications. You got a New York Ironworkers matchup against Free Jacks coming up this week. That's going to have implication on the Eastern Conference standings. You got a New York Ironworkers taking on the NOLA Gold in that standpoint, which is also going to be huge implications. So looking forward to that and having that in mind, what is it that this Old Glory DC team needs to focus on in order to keep the momentum going, in order to get those wins building? Because I don't think, like you said, there's any room for us to be letting ones that we should be winning go here, especially this late in the season.
There's no room for slip up. I mean, that's the challenge of this league. It's long. It's intense. So every game is challenging, as we know. Dallas have had their first win as a franchise. They're at home. You know, they'll have their backs up. There's a large Argentinian contingent there who want to get one over on another fairly sizable Argentinian contingent in Old Glory, you know, and that'll come into play. But I do think that there is something that you mentioned there. I mean, on May 14th at home to Free Jacks, that's going to be just a belter in terms of physicality required. That's a Sunday game, and then to go from Sunday to a Thursday in Toronto away, I would be concerned about a Toronto game. You know, we'll see how Old Glory comes through the Jackals game in terms of injuries and health, and then the Free Jacks game is going to be a physically bruising game. They need to be able to come through that game relatively unscathed to be able to put up a challenge against Toronto away. 4 days. There'll be very little training done that week. There's going to be travel day. It's going to be recovery day. Very little training done. So, you know, looking at the next 3 games, it's that Toronto game because that 4-day turnaround that kind of scares me a little bit. But, you know, the coaches are on top of this. It'll all be managed. I'm sure they're planning for it now already. So the next 3 games, as we've said all season long, are critical.
Totally. And I think that the 3 of them are pretty interesting because, as you said, Dallas, they won for the first time this year. But the thing that they have Argentinian people, it's not that it's the most important thing, but you know, it always gives a spicy condiment because it's what they do, you know, very, very passionate players. But also when you talk about the New England Free Jacks, it's a match that you can measure what you've really grown, you know. And if you win, I know it's going to be hard, but we are pretty positive because of this moment that is having Old Glory. But I think it's going to be very important to see, okay, we are a step up from what we've been doing these past few matches, and Toronto has nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Toronto has nothing to lose, and you have to go all the way. We are away, right? In Toronto,
Yep.
We're going away. So, and if you don't rest enough, and it's like you have to change your mindset just one day from another, but Toronto has nothing to lose, and Old Glory needs those points to just keep on going up in this Eastern Conference.
Now, when you look at this next months of matchups, right, we look at Old Glory DC visiting Dallas after the bye, Old Glory at home against the New England Free Jacks. Then we have that Toronto matchup that with that quick turnaround in Toronto. And then you have the Seattle Seawolves coming to town following that. If you look at next 4 matches there, are you satisfied? Because just looking at, I guess, the standing wise and what you would expect out of these matches in terms of who's the underdog and who's the top team out of these matches, would you be satisfied with the 2-2 record coming out of this month if that was what was happening? Is that the red line there for this Old Glory DC team in terms of the success that they need to see over the course of this month?
Yeah, I think I'd be okay with it, but I also think, like, who are we talking about the 2-2s are?
Also, on top of that, Farrah, you know, I would disagree. I think 2-2 is not good enough. If you've big aspirations for this league, but 2-2 isn't as simple as 2 wins and 2 losses. 2-2 is okay. Well, is there a bonus point win in both of those? Yeah. Do we give the opponents bonus points, and do we pick up bonus points in those 2 losses? So you factor in those things. I think that's a bit of a different question.
And I think it also depends on, like, it also factors in that and who the losing team is. Like, New England losing versus Toronto losing, very big difference in terms of, like, the implications of the wind.
Right.
So, yeah, but it's not that easy to say, 2-2.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Also, I mean, and these teams will take points off each other, which is obviously part of the league. And now, one thing I've just noticed there, which I think is interesting, is New England are going to be in the same situation Old Glory are in this weekend, because they play New York, I think, next week, but then they have a bye week before our week. So again, how do they go against New York? Do they beat New York and then momentum stops for them in that bye week, or do they lose New York and then they gotta, get themselves healthy for a week before they face us? So I think that's going to be pretty interesting to see that how New England come into the Old Glory week is going to be really interesting.
Absolutely. All right. Well, hey, we do got a lot of optimism heading into this bye week after, like we said, those back-to-back wins that has showed a lot of promise. I think that has us optimistic heading into this next month of matches that obviously, like we mentioned, is going to have huge implication into how this Eastern Conference shakes out and whether or not what Roly said, if that playoff berth is really going to be a thing. Like you said, Gav, might be a little bit too early to be started talking about that, but it's definitely creeping into the minds when you see Old Glory DC sitting up there in that second spot after what was kind of a slower start to this season. But all right, coming up after a short break here, every thing that everyone is waiting for in terms of the prediction segment. We put our money where our mouth is, talk about who we think is going to be winning the matches here in round 11. And there's no Old Glory DC match. So we got a nice little 3 docket of games that we'll discuss here. No bias at all. And we'll see whether or not how that has shaken up in our host standings here, because it has been surely interesting after a fun and exciting round 10. So before we head to break, Mighty Meals is the official meal prep partner of Old Glory DC. These chef-prepared healthy meals can be delivered fresh to you 4 times a week. Order your next meal now at mightymeals.com. The Road to Glory podcast will be back right after a short break.
Are you looking for an exciting and unforgettable live sporting event? Look no further than Old Glory DC, your hometown Major League Rugby franchise. Don't miss out on this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see professional rugby up close. With a mix of strength, skill, and strategy, rugby is a sport like no other. Whether you're coming alone, with friends, or looking for unique family entertainment, Old Glory DC has something for everyone. Be a part of this unique experience. Get your tickets now at oldglorydc.com. That's oldglorydc.com.
Knowledge. It's where innovation begins. It's what leads us to discovery and motivates us to succeed. It's why we ask the tough questions and what leads us to the answers. At Leidos, we're standing behind those working to improve the world's health, safety, and efficiency. Leidos.
Pro rugby in the nation's capital is here. Are you on board the road to glory? Back to upping the flags with your hosts Ryan Yee, Gavin Hickey, Trinidad Bavio, Roland Pratt, and Farrah Douglas.
Welcome back to the Road to Glory podcast, and it is now time for our favorite prediction segment, where we start looking at 3 of the matches in this upcoming week and put our money where our mouth is and see whether or not we can predict them accurately. Some of us doing better than others so far this season. I am not going to mention who, because it's been a tough one for me. But nonetheless, had some other us doing a little bit better. Trini, you're ahead right now still. You've been leading for a majority of the season at a 16-8 record this so far, including this past week's matches. Farrah, you're coming in next, 18-12 so far this season. Roly, 16-14. Gav, look at you. After a perfect week of predictions, you're now 500, and it's the little wins, right? It's the little wins that really mean the most, right? And we'll just mention, like I said, very quickly here, 13-17. Still struggling here, but we'll hope to turn things around. I'm gonna completely embrace the mantra that Gav has mentioned throughout the course of the season, that it is a marathon, not a race. But I do feel like I'm slowly running out of time. But nonetheless, we'll keep this going. But yeah, just to recap the matches we had last week, it was the New England Free Jacks taking on Rugby Atlanta, Houston taking on New York, and Old Glory DC, of course, taking on Utah. All of us, except for Roly, who really put everything on the line there in that matchup, hoping for Rugby Atlanta upset. Did not happen. Almost. It was
so close.
So close. He would have looked like an absolute genius. But Close isn't good enough, and that got you the lone loss in that one. All of us picking New England correctly in that one. All of us picking Houston over New York, and then surprisingly, Roly and Gav, you guys were the only ones that went with Old Glory DC this past week. And I think the team proving us wrong. I'm continuing to go on this mindset that I think part of this back-to-back win streak has been because of me providing this team a little bit of extra motivation to prove me wrong. Because I did say that when I went with that original New York pick 2 weeks ago, and it seems like they continue to prove me wrong.
Totally.
So I guess, I'll take part in a little bit of that. But nonetheless, we got 3 matches to talk about this week. Old Glory DC, of course, on the bye. Don't have them as part of our slate of predictions. So we are going with NOLA taking on Toronto at home, the New England Free Jacks taking on New York at home, and San Diego taking on Houston at home. So 3 interesting ones. 3, I think, that all have their respective storylines heading into this week. We'll start off with the NOLA and Toronto matchup in New Orleans. Trini, I'll start with you first. Who are you thinking with this NOLA Toronto match?
It's going to be close, but NOLA is going to take this match for sure.
All right. Farrah, who you got in this one?
I've got NOLA written down.
NOLA as well. Roly?
Ring the bell. NOLA also.
NOLA also. And Gav?
I agree with Trini. I think it's going to be closer than we all probably think, but I think NOLA will pip it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen glimpses, especially in that Seattle matchup, where we can see Toronto maybe coming through, which makes me a little bit nervous. But again, there was a point in period in time where we thought this NOLA team was absolutely rolling, and due to some injuries, they've kind of faltered a little bit. But I wouldn't be shocked if they get back on the right track here, especially coming off of a win here this past week, and now coming in. I think they can take care of business against Toronto as well. So NOLA coming away with that clean slate here for us hosts here on the Road to Glory podcast in that one. So let's shift over to the New England Free Jacks New York one, see if there's any differences here. Should be an interesting one. They're hitting up the upper northeast there in New England. Should be interesting. Who do you got here, Trini?
New England.
New England in this one.
100%.
Okay. Farrah?
Oof. I think it's going to be a tough match. I'm going to go with New England.
New England in this one. Roly?
Oh, I'm torn on this one again. I see New York may have a couple of guys coming back from that HIAs, and like they're going to be bitter as all hell after last week.
I know you said last week, Roly, that you try to fade me. So do you want me to tell me my pick here so you can go the
why
opposite?
don't you go ahead there, Ryan? Give me just an extra second here on this one.
All right. Here, Gav, I'll let you go first here, then I'll go, and then I'll let Roly pick afterwards.
I think it's very interesting terminology you used there when you said that the New York are hitting up the Free Jacks after the weekend they just had. I think, unfortunately, New York will probably be without their director of performance for a week or two. They are hurting, there's no doubt about that. They've lost a couple on the bounce, but the Free Jacks are kind of setting the pace on this Eastern Conference. So I'll go with Free Jacks this weekend.
Yeah, I think on top of the injuries and having that uncertainty, and with New York not really impressing me so much over the course of the past few weeks that they've been playing, Roly, I'm going to go New England here. So who do you got? Putting you in a tough spot.
Oh, to be a contrarian.
I'm tired of looking
like New York. Come on.
I'm tired. I love it. I'm tired of looking like the fool on this prediction segment. So I'll let you take the underdog here and
that there is a little bit more to it. Like, while clearly New England are the form side, I'm sort of picking New York for almost the same reasons as I picked Atlanta last week. It's not like they're a bad team, guys. No. You know what I mean? Like, they're very capable of going and winning the game. It's just a matter of if they can get all of those pieces together and, play in a proper game. My big worry is the lack of a fly half, though. Heighton's a huge loss still. So, but you got to have some fun, guys. Let's take New York.
Risk it for the biscuit. All right. And last one here, San Diego taking on Houston, and probably is what is the most anticipated matchup this weekend in terms of what's at stake here in that Western Conference. San Diego obviously rolling, Houston looking pretty good at times as well. So Trini, who do you got, San Diego or Houston?
I agree with you, the most anticipated game, but San Diego at home is going to play that part, so San Diego for me.
All right, Farrah, who do you have in this one?
San Diego.
San Diego. All right, back-to-back San Diego picks. Roly, not letting you fade me here. This one, you're going in this this pick.
I'll take San Diego as well. Not
right.
that stupid. Jeez.
All right, Gav, who you have?
Straightforward enough. It's San Diego again.
San Diego. Oh, you guys make me want to go the other
Do
way.
it. Do it. Do it.
No,
Do it.
No, I
Come
can't.
on, Ryan.
Do it.
Too often do I have my
Go ahead.
picks written down, and because of what you
Don't
guys say,
trust
I feel like I got to go the other way, and I always have
You
you
have
guys
to play
talk me
catch up.
into it.
You,
You know the results.
You got to make some moves.
I do, but this isn't the week to do it. I'm going San Diego in this one. They've just been too impressive. I do think that this Houston SaberCats team is a good team, but San Diego's on a whole nother level right now. So I'll go on that one. Maybe next week, Gab, that you'll get your shot at to going further. But nonetheless, should be an interesting one. Again, Old Glory DC on bye this week, and like what we heard from assistant coach Ben Cima, they'll be using the week to get fully rested mentally and physically, and then they'll have the Dallas Jackals away next week as they prepare for what should be a very, very important matchup in terms of the impact that it'll have on the standings. That one will air on Fox Sports 2 on May 6th, 8 o'clock Eastern time. In the meantime, go give us a follow at Old Glory DC as well. Want to give a quick shout out as well to some exciting rugby that's obviously happening over the weekend here in the capital region. The 2023 Collegiate Rugby Championship National Sevens Tournament is happening. That's taking place in the nation's capital, April 28th to the 30th. That'll also be airing on the Rugby Network. Always love having a little bit of extra rugby content to digest on top of all the exciting Major League Rugby content as well. So that will be there this weekend too for all of us to enjoy. Always good to enjoy a little bit of sevens here. Maybe not so much for you forward players, but for us backs, we absolutely love it nonetheless. So all right, for Farrah, for Trini, for Roly, for Gav, this is the Road to Glory podcast, and we'll be back next week.
You've been listening to the Road to Glory podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything Old Glory DC and beyond. From expert team analysis to exclusive interviews and more, you'll always find it right here. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on social media at Old Glory DC. Catch you next time on the Road to Glory podcast.